The following AOR live stream is brought to you by the following sponsors: Elgato Gaming, Hype Energy Drinks, Thrustmaster and GT Omega Racing. Make sure to check them out in the description down below. Hello and welcome to Apex Online Racing for live coverage of the F1 2018 League with Hype Energy Drinks. We're on the PS4 and bringing you lights to flag coverage of F2 this week from the circuit Paul Ricard for the French Grand Prix. Grand Prix racing originated in France in the early 1900s, with the first Grand Prix race held in 1906 around Le Mans. Since then there have been 87 French Grand Prix at 16 different locations. The race returned this season after an absence of nearly 10 years, and tonight sees the first time a French Grand Prix for many of the drivers. The 15-turn track is dominated by the Mistral straight, which is punctured by a chicane midway through rather than the full 1.8 kilometres. Tyres tonight are the soft, super soft and ultra soft for the race around this track in the south of France. Now, last week in Canada we saw action aplenty in a wet-dry race that saw Sean increase his championship lead to 43 points over the rest of the field, taking victory. Can he make a fourth win here tonight? My name is Andy, and once again joining me as usual in the comm box is Ollie. Ollie, we got a bit of an interesting race in our hands. It's obviously raining at the moment, and race dry to full wet is the weather report, so we're in for a spicy one tonight, are we not?
Yes, hello everyone and welcome. Yeah, I was hoping for rain. I did say to one of the drivers beforehand how I'd love to see some rain. I've seen in like other racing, I won't say leagues, but other racing series, shall we say, that rain does spice things up a little bit here. And tyre degradation as well is a big factor. So if it is starting dry going onto the wet, a lot of these guys will start on the harder compound tyres, but it's about finding the tyres that are going to last the longest and have the maximum speed. So that for me is going to be interesting, because if someone's starting on the super softs versus softs, which are the tyres that are better for the race, if the super softs are quicker and can last, them guys may prosper a little bit more. But if you go on the super softs and they don't last, have to pit again, things can go downhill quite dramatically. So this is really interesting. A couple of factors to keep an eye out: the pit entry and pit exit. The pit exit could be a source of pure chaos, really. If somebody's going down that line and it comes out of nowhere, that can cause a bit of drama. I've also seen people struggling with the pit entry and losing the rear end, taking a bit too much speed, so we could see a little bit drama there. We have 15 guys out on track. We've got a couple of new entries. Obviously Blizzard is joining us for a second week, and we do have a new driver in FTR Nico, who will be taking up for Williams. So we've got some interesting battles. I reckon Sean will be feeling pretty confident around here. I believe as well that there's a few guys who have got some decent pace around here. Obviously last week on pole was Cherry 2 Pie out of nowhere, but he kind of fell off a little bit and finished in P10. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. F2 is normally very competitive, and I reckon today will be no different.
Absolutely, and the rain's going to throw in another spanner to the works. We're going to jump on board with Dawidos in the Ferrari as he goes on to his fast lap. Let's take you around this 3.63 mile circuit, powering down towards turn 1. This will be DRS in the dry, but no DRS obviously in the rain. Down to fourth gear, catching the curb and into turn 2, and just gently on the power on the way out of here, but in the dry you'll be able to just plant the throttle down. And then into turn 3, tricky wee section round here, into the right hander and then the left, down another gear to third, and then some people will be down to second gear through here, as is Dawidos, into turn 5, and then turn 6 is just an ever increasing corner. He's stuck behind Tactician in the Red Bull. And there's been contact already between the two of them, so hopefully that's not damage to the Ferrari's front wing. But now he's coming down the Mistral straight, and then you're coming up and trying to find the braking point for this chicane. It's a cluster. It looks like Spaghetti Junction around Birmingham at any time, trying to pick your points through there, but he's managed to do so on this occasion, and then back onto the second part of the Mistral straight, and then down into turn 10. And this is a really quick corner, flat out in the dry, over 190 plus miles an hour in the dry weathers, and he's backing out off the track lap at the moment as Cherry 2 Pie goes by. But then you're coming round these tricky corners, they just get harder each time, and he's just dropping out of the lap and backing out now, so we'll just jump away from him and see what's going on. Tactician right behind him once again. We're waiting to see who's the first one across the line.
Yeah, it's really quite hectic out there at the moment for these guys. It's interesting to see who is who's going to have the prime pace at the moment. It's very interesting. I think RC Spider. I think he started, but he may have just backed out of a lap a little bit. But yeah, I'm not too sure who's going to be the first man. Well, there we go, Cherry Tooth, obviously on the two, as you mentioned. But yeah, it's a very tight and twisting track. It's one of them races where I'm not really sure if anyone at all is going to be able to follow comfortably, because if you do get in that dirty air, it can be chaos. But if it's raining without that DRS, it's going to be very, very tough. I've seen some guys with setups go for more straight line speed, which means they're so difficult to overtake in the straight line when there is no DRS, that it could just be a case of having to try and get them through the corners. But if you've got just enough grip through the corners, you might just be okay. We're going to be seeing a differential between setups as well, so we're going to see dry and wet setups. A lot of the guys will go for dries based on the majority of the race likely to be on the dry compound, but if you're going for wet, you're going to have a boost in qualifying, and also at the very latter stages of the race you'll have a bit more pace. I mentioned RC Spider, he has gone to the top of the time, he's 1 minute 40.7, so yeah, there's a bit of a gap forming, but I reckon the track is going to improve lap by lap.
Yeah, it's definitely going to get better as more drivers and more cars go out, pushing that water into the air, creating a bit more of a dry line. Spider, as you say, top of the standings at the moment. We're on board with him just now, 1 minute 40.7. He's nearly a full second up on anyone else just now, but it's still early days in this qualifying session. But the big story coming into this race obviously has to be, can anybody catch this man, Sean, in the Ferrari, who's just cutting out the chicane on his way back to pit lane by the looks of it, as the new start, Nico, has already left the session, so hopefully he can get back in before long. But can anyone catch Sean? He's now on 3 victories. Could be a lot more if it wasn't for changes in the steward's room afterwards, but he's got a 43-point gap over Tactician, who's in second place, and it's now starting to become a question of, can anybody take the challenge to the Ferrari driver and take the challenge to the Dutchman for the rest of the season? And at the moment he's looking very good, and he showed last week in that wet to dry race around Montreal that he can handle just about any condition that's thrown at him. So it's looking to be a very good season so far, but there's still an awful long way to go as he comes through, and he's going into pit lane. That is Casper going through behind him, so he's just about to set a lap on here, or he's just about to start one. I think he's just starting a lap as Spider goes quicker again by another few times, a 40 dead, and he's now got a near just shy of a full second clear of Lee Findlay, who's in second, but Jundu at the moment up in third place. Decent lap time from the Finn.
Yeah, it's strange though that you mentioned about Tactician being the highest point scorer other than Sean, because I don't really think Tactician's had a standout performance. I think one of his best ones actually was Monaco, where he done quite well considering he was on a pad. But if I had to say raw speed, the two guys who are equally as quick as Sean are probably Lee Findlay and RC Spider, as you can see top of the timings at the moment. So I'd imagine as the season unfolds, of course we're only at France, we've got a long way to go. As the season unfolds, I do think that them two are going to be the closest ones. It's just consistency for Tactician. Another man who's very quick is Ash, who has missed quite a few races as well. So that could be down another factor as why he's not involved in that championship. But yeah, Sean is the outright favourite, I would say, at the moment. Surprisingly enough, though, there's quite a lot of guys who are yet to set laps. Tactician, the H-Eagle, Ruben, Casper, Big Parenta, Nico and Blizzard all haven't really set laps with. I don't really think anyone from third downwards has actually set a competitive lap either. So a lot of these guys are still really trying to find some time in this track. Obviously, I mentioned about the setups and how they're going to affect the way the guys are going. So yeah, I think the H-Eagle is backing up in the final sector, which is to ramp up for a lap. He's come around the final corner now, so he's going to ramp up. He's another guy who's very competitive and very quick on his day. He's going to come down into turn 1 now. A very difficult set of corners, really. Turn 1 is probably the most technical section on the track and the one where you can gain and lose the most time. Coming into turn 1, you're blind on the left-hand side, clipping the curbing. If you get too much of a track extension out of the exit of turn 2, you can get a warning for extension, which some of these guys may have felt. Braking about 75 metres in these wet conditions coming into the second chicane. It's a long chicane where the left-hander seemingly goes for quite a long time. Off camber, then what I like to call the Mexico sector, where the right-hander is so slow, it just feels like you're not taking any speed through there, as you're going to come through this long right-hander that leads onto the back straight. One of the big overtaking opportunities with a chicane in the middle. If this was one long straight, we'd be seeing cars flying past here, but for me, this chicane coming up is one of the nicest corners to drive and to watch in Formula 1 as they're coming through. 50-metre ball braking, he's going to take a good exit. If you overshoot it in the race, that will allow the car behind you to get DRS and maybe have a little bit of a run on you coming now down the second part of this back straight, coming under the boarding there with the F1 logos. This right-hander, long, seems to go on for quite a long time. If you get a little bit of understeer, you could be finding yourself in the run-off area, Lance Stroll-esque. Coming through this right-hander, it goes on for a hell of a long time, a spoon-style corner, and he's going to open it up nicely. An overtaking opportunity here with sharp braking, cutting it nicely. You just want to avoid the apex and then come into it late. If you hit it too early, you'll lose momentum. You want to take maximum speed. This right-hander, high speed, braking quickly, shifting down to about 4th gear. You open the corner up to then get as far left as possible to open up this 90-degree corner, clipping the apex, and then you're going to come down the start-finish straight. The H-Eagle is about to set a lap time. It seems relatively competitive, trying to pick up some slipstream. He goes second, a 1 minute 40.7, a 1 minute 40.8 there. So the H-Eagle finding a bit of time.
Indeed, a lovely lap time there from the Salba driver. You're pointing out obviously the chicane, and obviously a lot of people have mentioned about how much it's hard to pick out in the real race when it was watching it on the TV where the track was sometimes. So for anyone watching, I've got a quick teaser question for you. How many layouts is there off this track? There's a question for you. See if you can put it in the chat below, and I'll give you the answer later on. There's an awful lot of them though, as you can see. So how many layouts off the Paul Ricard track is there? Tell me the answer below in the chat, and if you are tweeting this out, don't forget the hashtag AOR hype as well. But yeah, H-Eagle, decent lap time, but still RC Spider up at the top. And you were mentioning earlier about Tactician, his consistency. I think the race you forgot about where he was really good was Bahrain. Him, David Austin, Sean having a right good old scrap freeway battle at Bahrain in the second race of the season. But Sean is looking pretty decent, even though he's down in 8th place at the moment. There's still 6.5 minutes to go in this session. We've got a car sideways there through turn 10. It was Blizzard, yep. There he is, just getting back onto track now. So the conditions are very tricky, and it's going to be even trickier. This carries on, and the weather forecast is the race to start dry and then go to the wet later on. So this is going to be very interesting race indeed, similar to Montreal in reverse that we had last week. So keep an eye on everything. But still RC Spider up top, and he's got nearly 3/4 of a second over everyone else, and he's just rejoined out of pit lane, and he's about to start another lap.
Yeah, Sean has just moved up into P3, 1 minute 40.8, so the track is definitely improving. Another yellow flag in sector 3. I think this might just be cars bunching up as Blizzard has darted into the pit lane. Only him and Nico, the debutant, who are yet to set competitive times. He's going to come up to a bit of traffic of a Toro Rosso, which was Casper, but he's just about avoided that. That's what I mean about this track being very tight. It's I'd say this in Canada are notoriously, you know, you'd look at it and say, well, the really should be quite a lot of overtaking opportunities. It's very, very tough because of how narrow some of the sections of corners are. But RC Spider, who is just starting a lap now, he is probably going to be your favourite for pole position. But the crucial factor, as Andy has mentioned a few times, is that it will be a dry to wet race. So if you're starting with a dry setup, and also the tyre choice will be crucial as well, you could see a few changes. If you set up for straight line speed, you can breeze past. But if you set up for straight line speed, when it comes to them wet conditions, your car is going to be all over the place. So that might explain why we are seeing a 2.6 second gap between 13th and 1st, all the guys setting times at the moment. Quite surprising at the moment. You mentioned earlier Jundu was doing quite well, but Casper and Cherry Tupai, two guys who are quite good as teammates. Obviously, Cherry Tupai has not had the luck compared to Casper, but you'd probably expect them to be a little bit higher up. On average, they're probably getting around about 6th or 7th, one of them at least, and not really having a very good race so far. Big Parenta is doing a good job at the moment, up in P4. Lee Findlay is on an outlap as well, but I really don't see anyone getting anywhere near RC Spider, who's coming through the final sector now. He's almost lost the rear end slightly there, but he's held it nicely. It looks like, riding on board with him it looks like he's on a bit of an improvement. He's taken this lap pretty much perfectly. I think he would rival any of the F1 guys, I think, with the pace he's showing at the moment in these wet conditions. 7/10 of a second quicker to the guy in second. I know they haven't all set their fastest laps at the moment, but he's probably on a little bit of a heavier fuel load as well. He's absolutely flying through the final sector now. He's going to come into that final 90-degree corner, a slow corner. He's going to clip that white line, open up the power nicely. This looks like a competitive time from Spider. This could be into 1 minute 39 as he comes across the line. I think it might be, yes, oh no, it's not. Jesus Christ, that's close. 1 minute 40 dead. He has improved slightly, so he may have just hit a wall of his pace, and that might be the quickest Spider can go. So now it's all over to the other guys. The H-Eagle, Sean, Big Parenta, Lee Findlay. Who is your money on, Andy, to challenge RC Spider?
I think I'm going to stick with Spider, to be honest. It's his home race as well for the Frenchman, so he'll be wanting to do as good as possible. Of course, in Monaco, he did take the victory after stewards gave Sean a penalty after the race for an incident, so he's looking to make it basically 2 wins on what is basically home ground, so he's looking good at the moment. The H-Eagle, the closest one to him, but it's 7/10 of a second between them as Eagle's on an outlap. Sean's still in the pits at the moment, as is Big Parenta, as Lee Findlay lines it up to start his lap. Some more yellow flags in sector 3, possibly bunching up maybe, as they've disappeared. But I've got to stick with the provisional poleman at the moment. I think he's looking good, as you say. I was on board with him a few times as well, and he looks to have it pretty much lined up pretty nicely around here. And the 7/10 even coming into the end of the session, that's a lot of time for anybody to make up on the pole sitter at the moment. So he's looking good just now with 2.5 minutes to go, but anyone could stick onto pole, and it is drying up as well. Not quite enough for dry tyres, I wouldn't think, but it's still going to get drier, and that's going to make those intermediates work just a little bit better down at the dry parts. 2 minutes to go though, here on AOR Hype Energy Leagues. This is F2 on the PlayStation 4, and thank you to all 25 of you that are tuning in at the moment. As I say, pop anything in the chat below. We'll try and keep up to speed as we're going along. Who do you fancy for the victory here tonight? And don't forget on Twitter to use the hashtag AOR Hype as well. But it's RC Spider on pole as Ash goes for a lap in the McLaren. He's 9 down, nearly a full second down at the moment, and missed a few races, as you said earlier, Ollie, due to moving home, meaning he had no internet, so that's dropped him down the points after he took victory in Melbourne in round 1. So he needs to try and start his recovery now if he wants to have any chance of fighting towards the top of the standings. Casper is out of the session. Yellow flag in sector 2 is probably him, I'm guessing. We'll see if we can see the Toro Rosso as we follow Ash in this. Yep, there it is, Toro Rosso onto the side of the road there on the left on the heli shot, so he's lost it, and that's going to mean outside the top 10 for Casper. It's not been like him this season. He's been pretty consistent in qualifying, usually within the top 10, so he won't be too chuffed at that, I'm sure.
Yeah, you'd probably expect a little bit better from him, but RC Spider as well coming to the pitch, which is probably one of the most confident things you're going to see. I've been looking at Sean. He's coming through, and he's just about to set a lap now, so Sean is going to be one of the last guys to come across the line, which is going to maximise the drama. I can't see anyone else who's going to be coming across the line and going quick. Dan Daniel and Blizzard are very close, actually. I think Blizzard's backing off, and so is the Sauber of the H-Eagle and Dan Daniel, so they could be, but Sean is going to be the big challenger. He's through the first few sectors. Lee Findlay, of course, moving himself up into P2. 0.5 of a second, though, seems like a big gap. He's on a good lap at the moment. The H-Eagle was just starting on a lap as well, so he'll be a guy to keep an eye on. Any of the top 4 can still probably get pole. Even Nico on his debut showing some really good pace at the moment. It would be nice to see him get a debut pole position. I think Lee Findlay is going to be the first of the top guys to come across and set a lap time, but he's struggling. But it's really drying up, and if I'm completely honest with you, RC Spider's pole position is at major risks. The checker flags are out, no more guys can come across the line. The sector flags in yellow 1, yellow flags in sector 1, that was okay, never done that before, but yeah, Ash is retired from the session. I think these guys are going to be struggling because it looks like dry tyres and they're on intermediate, so maybe, just maybe, RC Spider has maximised this. Lee Findlay is going to come across the line now into the final sector. He's going to come across. Is he going to improve? No, he does not, so that's not a great sign. For Sean's backed off of his lap. So, yep, I think this might be our qualifying rankings. Yep, DRS enabled. I don't see anyone improving now.
No, definitely not. Spider's actually put something in the chat, simple words, I'm dead. So he's obviously given it his absolute all on that lap, and that's why he's decided to sit in the pits rather than try for one more lap. But as you say, with the drying out track now, those inters are quite possibly overheating in these long radius corners, meaning that no one's able to get a good lap time in. The H-Eagle coming through the final corner just now. Can he improve on his time at 3rd place at the moment? He crosses over the line, he moves up to 2nd, but he's still just under 2/10 shy of RC Spider's time. Lee Finley's in third at the moment. Nico comes across the line. He's going to be 6th place on his debut, as we've got a Renault. That is that the Renault behind there in the background? I don't know. Someone's off anyway. It is Blizzard. He's stuffed it on the front straight. He's 10th place at the moment, but good run from Nico in the Williams on his debut. It's going to be 6th place for him, but RC Spider led the session pretty much from start to finish. The Frenchman takes pole for his home Grand Prix.
Yeah, pretty dominant performance there from the Frenchman. He's done a really good show in there, and I did say about how I'm a little bit surprised he's not higher up in the championship. I think he's going to be the man to take the battle to Sean, but in race trim, Sean has been much more superior than his qualifying. It is pole position for RC Spider. The H-Eagle was the man to get closest to him, just under 0.2 of a second. And Lee Finley, 5 tenths behind. Sean, 7 tenths behind him in 4th. And 5th is Ruben, fellow compatriot Nico. He's in 6th. Big Parenta's in 7th, 9 tenths of a second behind. Ash also 9 tenths of a second. He's in 8th. Davidos a second off the pace in 9th. 10th is Blizzard, 11th is Cherry 2Pie. Tactician, second in the championship, not great from him in 12th. Then it's 13th for Jundu, 14th for Dan Daniel, and Casper, who has been very consistent in recent races and picked up some good points with a podium in the last round, of course, at Canada. He starts in P15. Dry to wet, I think, Andy, this might be an absolute classic. It looks very, very grey. So this is the real question. Do you go for softs, super softs, or hyper softs? For me personally, the super softs are the safe bet. The softs are the very safe bet. Someone, please go for the hyper softs. This could be interesting.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if anyone does go. It's for the ultra softs, actually, here, my friend. You've got it slightly mixed up, but you're nearly right. You're good. I know what you meant. But yeah, I think we're going to see quite a few people on those yellow marked soft tyres, because if the rain's due, they're going to want to run as long as possible, I think, to bring it up to when the rain comes. It all depends when that rain is due to hit the track. If it's going to be quite early doors, then you as you say, super softs probably be a good bet. You can get some good pace out of them and get a good bit of life out of them, and if it hits about mid-race, then you're looking pretty decent. But it all depends when the race comes. If you're sitting here watching at the moment, don't go anywhere, because this is going to be absolutely scintillating. It's going to be fantastic, this race. I've got no doubts about it, and when the rain comes, it's going to be amazing to watch. Let's see who is on what tyres. So everybody's on super softs except for Jindu and Casper, so no one's gone for those ultra softs as you were hoping for there, Ollie. I'm sure you're slightly disappointed.
I'm very upset. Yeah, I'm quite upset about that.
But we need to do our usual bit, though. Who do we think is going to do best?
Well, we got the rules, and I feel like we need to have it the one to watch. And I think we should make it that if you go for Casper, and Casper gains 12 positions, but say you went for RC Spider and he won the race, I think Casper would be the one you'd say one to watch. So we'll base it off positions gained. I think would probably be the best way to go. Otherwise, I could just say RC Spider. And it could, but yeah,
I'll take that.
Looking down the grid, I'm a big fan. I think as well, I would have said Cherry 2Pie maybe if it was a dry qualifying. I'm going to say Blizzard. I think Blizzard could have a very good race here. He's a competitive driver with Sins and Patreon, so my one to watch is Blizzard. Andy, who are you going for?
I'm just going to go for Casper since he's at the back. So that I'm just going to go for the Toro Rosso. Well, so he is, yeah. Could be an interesting one. It could do.
But it could be a stroke of genius.
We'll see. I'm going to go with Casper. He has been very consistent this season. He's usually there or thereabouts, so we shall see. But they're on the formation lap just now, coming round to take the start in just a moment. 15 drivers here for F2 this week, and RC Spider, his home race, sitting it on pole position, but with a dry start. It's now a case of who's gone with it, as you said, who's gone with a dry setup, who's maybe taking a bit of a extra wing knowing that the rain's coming later on, who's maybe thinking about it at that point. Just real quick though, for that question I put, how many layouts is there of the Paul Ricard circuit? Believe it or not, supposedly there is 167 possible different layouts around here.
Well, I guess 168, so I was very close.
Were you stealing it off the website?
Yeah, it's I love Paul Ricard personally. I think it's one of the unsung heroes, and I'm very glad it's back. It's just this hope in real life they sort out the accessibility to the track, shall we say?
Indeed, indeed, and maybe sort out that trophy, that Michelin Man in the red, white and blue. That looked a bit grotesque for me, but there you go. Anyway, I think it was. Either way, it didn't look too good, but either way, it doesn't matter. We're ready for the start. We've got 27 laps around this 3.63 mile circuit, and the last of the drivers are just lining up just now. Here we go, the lights are coming on for the French Grand Prix. This is AOR F2, and we are underway in tonight's race. And looking down the field, it looks like Spider hasn't got the greatest of starts. He's getting swallowed up by Lee Finley and the Eagle. It's side 3 wide into turn 1. This is going to end badly, surely. How they've all got through there, I do not know. And RC Spider regain. Oh my goodness, big crash in the background. And that is a tactician, I think, that got launched over his teammate, Big Parenta. He is off in the background. Sean is coming through as well. He's into 4th place at the moment. Ruben and Nico, the Spaniards, holding on to their positions as Nico goes up the inside into turn 5. But Ruben gets the traction down. But Tactician, huge crash, really launched over the back of his teammate, I think it was. And he's all the way down to the back of the field. And he must have had a really good start, because he started in 11th. But here comes the slipstream battle already. We're going to see this all race. Ruben pulls to the inside. We're nearly 3 wide again with Big Parenta and Nico, but Ruben's managed to hold on to the position just now in 5th place. But RC Spider has managed to hold the lead going through the first couple of corners after being 3 wide with the H-Eagle and Lee Finley. And there goes Big Parenta and Nico into the fast corner. This is going to be a good one side by side. Nico just goes slightly off track to avoid any contact. He's going to take the long way round, and now he's on that runoff, very abrasive tarmac in the runoff area. Nearly collects Ash on the way back. Big Parenta moves up a position. Not much in the way of changes though, but Dan Daniels moved up 2 places. Tactician down 3. That's your biggest movers on lap 1.
Yeah, for me, this might be a bit DC, but for me, Tactician is in 13th, so no incident at all involving him. So there might have been, I don't know which has happened. He may have been involved in the incident, but he may have been, honestly, I'll see if we can find out what's happened, but seems to be a level of desync at the moment for me and you, which is a bit strange considering this situation. But yeah, there's some good battles starting to form a little bit out further. The H-Eagle was unable to get that jump on RC Spider at the start, but I think for me that shows that H-Eagle maybe has a bit more of a dry setup compared to Spider, which will be very tasty going out into this race as well. Lee Finley, of course, last week we spoke to him, your fellow Scotsman, was saying how excited and happy he was for getting a podium and how stressed he was from doing so. He might have another good chance here, but the H-Eagle is almost dropped a second behind from RC Spider, who has dominated qualifying and could well be on form to dominate this race. As Sean and Lee Finley, they're getting very close, and Sean's just rammed him up the rear. But I do not think there's any damage for the front wing of that Ferrari. He's done a good job, but Sean, as he always does on a race day, in the race portion of the stream, always seems to get a little bit lively and come out of nowhere, gets a bit saucy, as I like to say. He's really showing some good pace at the moment in these race conditions, as Cherry 2 Pie has just overtaken Blizzard down the back straight.
Indeed, he's now into top 10. In fact, Blizzard is going backwards pretty quickly. He obviously got out of line there after Cherry 2 Pie passed him. Dan Daniels got past him as well and moved up to 11th. So the Renault now down to 12th place and got the 2 soft-tired runners, Jundu and Casper, behind him. The Tactician has dropped back down. He's a good wee bit off now from everyone else, so we'll keep an eye on how he goes later on, because he has got the super sauce. We'll need to see. It's getting a bit of desync again because it keeps putting Tactician back into the lead of the race when he is last, so we need to ignore that and let it refix itself one more time.
I think he might be in 13th. I think he might be in 13th. I think, yeah, so it's a strange one there. Yeah, it's a weird one.
So we'll do our best to keep on top of that as much as possible, but it is Spider who leads from the H-Eagle, Lee Finley and Sean. Ruben holding on to 5th place at the moment. He's got Big Parenta behind him with Nico in 7th, Ash is 8th, Dawidos in 9th, Cherry 2 Pie up to 10th, having passed Blizzard, who then lost another place to VP Dan Daniel. Just need to jump to Sean because he's going to look to the inside one more time, and Lee Finley into the chicane. He's got the move done this time. The Scotsman's seen him coming, and the Dutchman is now up into 3rd place, but that McLaren's going to try and slipstream his way down towards turn 10. Can he do anything through that extremely fast corner, as Ash is having a bit of a ding-dong with the other Ferrari, a Dawidos? So 2 Ferraris passing 2 McLarens in the same lap in the space of about 300 metres in the same bit of track.
Yeah, it's getting very, very interesting at the moment, but at the front I would have thought they would have bunched up nicely, but the H-Eagle has dropped 1.1 seconds off and Sean's a little bit behind, so maybe he can start to push forward. Cherry 2 Pie is absolutely flying, but him and Davidos have both gone wide, and Ash has gone even wider, and there's a bit of contact as Ash has rejoined the track. He's let him back through, but it is getting very interesting in this back of the grid battle, you'd say, in the latter stages of the points. Cherry 2 Pie hitting a very poor exit out the final corner, as rain is now starting to form going down the start-finish straight. If you look on board with Cherry, you can see there is rain starting to form on track, so that early spanner in the works has come even earlier than expected. You mentioned about the soft runners, which is really going to hinder them, which makes you think, why nobody started on the hypersoft, really? But yeah, there's a big changes going on further down the grid as Blizzard and Dan Daniel are battling. Blizzard has started to get his elbows out and wants to get involved in these battles. They're going side by side. Great little battling. Further down, Ash is battling on my screen with Tactician. Obviously for you, that's, I don't think, happening, but they're definitely going hammer and tongue between the two of them for me. But I don't know what you can see, of course. There seems to be a bit of decing at the moment. But Blizzard and Dan Daniel, they're getting very excited between the two of them. DRS is available probably for the last time this lap. Blizzard is getting close to Dan Daniel with the DRS available for the Haas as well. Is Blizzard going to go for a late lunge? He does! Up the inside, later on the brakes, a little bit of a lockout. That's going to make him a little bit deeper going into the second part of the chicane. He's lost the rear end slightly. Dan Daniel's going to be pushing him up the hill as they're going to come through this long right-hander shortly. Is there going to be DRS available? I think they've called off the... no, there seems to be no DRS for Blizzard or Dan Daniel at the moment. So yeah, Blizzard is going to have to defend as much as possible from Dan Daniel. A little quick switch there from Blizzard as a 3-second time penalty for Tactician. And looks like Blizzard's going to get the manoeuvre done, but Dan Daniel's not giving up. He's been pushed off the track. But I think we could see some guys coming into the pits very, very shortly because that rain has picked up in one lap quite a lot.
And Dan Daniel back up the inside of Blizzard. A little bit of wheel contact to the side pod there. These two not
Spider's
giving
in.
any inch. Spider, is he into the pits? Yes, he is. There it goes. So he is into pit lane. I've got Tactician in 15th. Where have you got him? Just so we can see where the desync might be.
I've got him in 12th, and he's just come into the pits.
Right, okay, cool. I've still got him in 15th, which is not good. But here goes Daniel down the front straight, and Blizzard, he's going to the outside line. He's got the move done before the corner, and he turns in front of the Renault. That's the move done, but the Renault's going to have a better run out of the corner. And you can see that Spider has gone on to intermediates, as has Tactician. Ash will be doing the same. He was dropping back. He lost a number of places. Blizzard now to the inside, now the outside of Daniel, but Daniel holds on to the position and then just, whoa, really across there. I don't know what happened there. Blizzard's got through. Daniel's picked up a 3-second penalty for that. I don't know if the Haas driver just put the power down and just lost the rear end a little bit, but that was a little bit different there. And I finally got Tactician in 14th, so maybe a desync's fixed itself.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. That's where he is.
So DRS disabled now. Daniel's looking to the outside, coming down the Mistral straight into the chicane. And Blizzard's missed it completely. He's going to need to let him through there.
Yeah,
they're all struggling.
God, this is incredible. This is exactly what you want. Blizzard picking up a penalty, Dan Daniel picking up a penalty. I really think Spider and Tactician and co have all called this perfectly. As Casper, Jundu, Blizzard, Dan Daniel, they're all very, very tight. And looks like Casper's going to get the quick switcheroo there on Blizzard. As he's going to go up the inside, this midfield scrap here. They're all going very deep. The Mercedes has run into the side of the Renault there and spun the Renault round. He's going to be able to hold on to it. And the Mercedes has just pushed him right. But that is not what you want to do, Jundu. The Finnish driver might well be finishing outside the points if he's going to continue that sort of pace. Blizzard's gone off and all these guys are struggling quite a lot, and the biggest gainer from this is going to be the likes of Tactician and Ash. But look how close that Ruben has jumped Sean. Sean and Lee Findlay, as Sean has entered the pits a little bit late. We know that some guys like to go to the stewards about that, but yellow flags in sector 3 as all these guys are filtering into the pits. RC Spider, Tactician and Ash Best have called this to perfection. RC Spider may well have just handed himself a race victory.
Yeah, everybody heading to pit lane. There goes the pole sitter on the Force India through into first place. So he is now back in the lead of the race as everyone is filtering into pit lane. We're just waiting to see, where does Ash and Tactician filter into this? That's what I want to know, because that could be really good. I seem to have the desync again because Tactician's jumped into the lead for a moment. But Spider is the leader. He is now leading the race. It looks like the H Eagles managed to get out in second place. Sean is in third place and Lee Finlay fourth, Big Parenta fifth. Ash has moved up to seventh. Now he had dropped down to about 12th place before pitting, so he's gained nicely out of that one. Who was the other one that came into the pits? Tactician's up to 13th, so he's where he was roughly.
For me, it says he's 7th and Ash is in 8th, so I'm not sure which one is correct. It looks like that might have been a little lag thing at the start of your screen, which is a little bit irritating. But I think Tactician's 7th and Ash is 8th.
Right.
So I'll keep you updated on where Tactician is. Obviously, you can't see the battles he's involved in, but right now, for me, he's right on the rear end of Ruben.
Yeah, because I've just jumped on board with Tactician. It's just had him spinning off the track down before the straight, so there's definitely some issues going on there, and so I'll let you keep an eye on that one. So I've got him back down in 15th. Did look like he was involved in an incident in turn 1, but obviously that must have been where the desyncs came, so it's causing problems. We'll do our best to keep up to speed with that one, but we can tell you 4.8 seconds clear is RC Spider, the hometown favourite, if you want to call it that, in the Force India, looking for his second victory of the season. And if he was to do that, he'd become only the second person this season to win multiple races after Sean, and it's going to propel him back up the championship. There's still a long way to go. We've still got 21 laps to go, including the one they're on just now, so there's still a long way through this race. But it is the H-Eagle in second, Sean in third, Lee Finley's fourth with Big Parenta in fifth. That desync will refix itself on the standings and put Tactician back down. I think he is in 7th place is all he was saying, fighting down there, so he's gained some places through the pit stop phase, even though it's not showing on the stream at the moment due to an issue, so it's not great. But these things can happen from time to time, obviously, the joys of the internet and everything. These sort of things do go about. RC Spider is the leader, that much I can definitely tell you. The H-Eagle in second place with Sean. Looks like he's managed to get through ahead of Lee Finley. He's now in third, so he's just going to want to try and catch up to the front two, but he's already nearly 10 seconds down on RC Spider, who just seems to have a really, really good pace around this track, no matter what the conditions.
Yeah, for me, Tactician is all over the rear end of Ruben, but I'm not too sure. There's a little bit of jittering around where he's riding the car a little bit, so I'm not too sure. I'll try my best to keep you, but he is 7th, and he's battling with Ruben for me, so I'm not too sure whether that's the overall case. Positions, winners and losers at the moment. For me, Casper has gained 1 position. He's up into 14th, and Blizzard has dropped down to 15th at the moment in the Andy versus Ollie battle, if you would like to put it that way. Dan Daniel, who looked like he had some good pace earlier on, and Cherry 2 Pie as well. Outside the point still, Davidos is up into, help station in P10 at the moment. You've got Nico, who's lost 3 places. Asbest is holding on to his. For me, Tactician and Ruben are still battling, and Tactician is said to have gained 6 places, but I'm not too sure, because on my screen now, they're just crashing into each other, so I'm not sure what is happening, but this desync is a little bit irritating. Big Parenta is gained a few places. He's up in 5th now. Lee Findlay needs to maybe up his pace a little bit, because before them pit stops he was showing some good speed, but maybe needs to get back into that battle with Sean, who is not really gaining on the H-Eagle, who is probably a bit of an MVP at the moment. No one expects the H-Eagle to be that high, but he's doing a very solid job at the moment. But RC Spider is pulling away around about a second a lap at the moment, so we'll keep an eye on how he does, but I think he might have this one in the bag. If things stay the way they are, we'd expect them to get a little bit heavier rain that will go onto the wet weather tyres, but RC Spider looks very, very good for a pole and win at the moment.
He is definitely looking in a good place at the moment. He's in the prime position for it on lap 8 at the moment. So we'll try and keep you up to speed with everything with the standings best we can. RC Spider is definitely in the lead of this race. There he is in the number 4 Force India. It'll be the last time, obviously, in real life that we'll see Force India, having now been renamed Racing Point for 2019. So this Force India name will drop off the grid after nearly 10 years, and RC Spider looking to make it a home victory for him and a victory for the Pink Panthers. The H-Eagle though in second, looking good at the moment, but Sean's gained around about half a second on him. He was about 4.5 back, and Sean's now about 4 seconds back, so gained about half a second in this lap somewhere. Lee Finley in 4th at the moment. Pad user doing very well in the McLaren, so he's sitting nicely at the moment. Big Parenta in 5th. I've got Ruben in 6th, and that's where you're saying Tactician, we believe, is actually just behind the Mercedes in 7th. Not that we can see that obviously on the screen due to the issues. Ash showing for me in 8th, but I believe he's in 9th with Nico having just got through ahead of Davidos. I think he's now in 10th place, so we're doing our best here to keep everything, but our picks, Blizzard and Casper, I've got them at the back.
Yes, they are 14th and 15th, so
well, at least that's consistent.
Yes, we could do with that. The annoying thing is that for me, Ruben and Tactician are literally stuck together like glue almost, So I'm not too sure. For me, it says Tactician's in 6th now, ahead of Ruben, but it's a bit of a strange one. I'll try my best to keep you up to date. Dan Daniel is hunting down Cherry Tupai, who has been trying to gain onto the back of Davidos for them last few points at the moment. These guys obviously want to get them scrappy little points at the moment. Cherry Tupai, who got pole last week and finished in 10th. Not really ideal for him, could have been big points, but these midfield guys, Dan Daniel's gone very deep there and lucky to avoid Cherry Tupai. If he would have gone a little bit too early there, or if he was a bit closer to Cherry Tupai, we could have been seeing some carbon fibre flying all over the place. But Dan Daniel is showing some significant pace at the moment. Of course, no DRS available for him. One thing we have to keep an eye on is who's running the wet setups as well, because that might show us who is going quicker at the moment. Yeah, it looks like Sean is keeping a pretty consistent gap, Big Parenta, so I can't really see anyone gaining too much, but maybe Nico and Ash best. Could we see a little battle between them? Davidos, Cherry Tupai, Dan Daniel, all very tight. So, you know, it's that little dull moment in the race, you could say. A little bit of a little bit lax in, you know, not too exciting, but with these wet weather conditions, these guys are going to bunch up very quickly. You can see how close they are on the start-finish straight.
Definitely, so it is going to bunch up for long. It looks like before the desync kicked in on my screen again, Dan Daniel and Cherry Tupai. Ruben was catching up to Big Parenta on my screen, but as you say, might have been Tactician, and Nico and Ash were pretty close, but it was pretty much got. So I'm going to stick in the moment with Cherry Tupai and Dan Daniel, the Toro Rosso and the Haas, coming through the first couple of corners. Currently in, I believe, 10th and 11th place on the track, although it says 11th and 12th just now on the screen. Cherry Tupai obviously been in and out of the wars and the stewards' room all season so far. You'll be looking to gain some points, having had a bit of, got to be honest, at the start of the season he was really unlucky in some instances to lose out on points, so he really needs to start banging in those good results, but sitting down at the bottom end of the top 10 at the moment is not where he needs to be. He needs to catch that Ferrari quickly. It's going to jump up to Nico, who's new to the F2 tier here. He's in the Williams, so we've got a Williams here. Jim Pasty not here this week, so we finally have 2 Williams cars in the series. The other Williams driver, whose name I cannot even remember, never even showed up, and that's just not what you want. But Nico doing very well on his debut, up in what I've got is 8th place at the moment, and looking very tidy indeed. Decent lap time in qualifying as well. He qualified in 6th place, so sitting around about the top 10, and he's looking pretty decent here for his first race. We'll need to keep an eye on him for the remaining races and see how his pace picks up. But RC Spider now 6 seconds clear up front against the H Eagle. Sean has got it at 3.5 seconds, so he's slowly chipping away at the Salba ahead, and that is your top 3. Ignore what it says on the screen just now.
Yeah, it's starting to get to that stage now where things are starting to heat up a little bit. Lap 11 of 27. Expect these guys to be pitting onto the wets at some point. It's getting heavier and heavier. You can tell normally when it's wet weather conditions, when the spray is just so heavy that you can barely see some of the guys from the third-person camera. That's how you could tell with the Canadian Grand Prix last week. Weird, isn't it, really, how we've had quite a quick instance of wet races. It'd be nice if we could have a few more, because they always throw a little bit of a interesting dynamic into the racing. For me, Big Parenta, Tactician and Ruben now have all spread out a little bit, so they're not close to each other. So it's 5th for Big Parenta, 6th for Tactician, Ruben is in 7th, but that might not be the case because of the desync. But from where it looks on board with Tactician, when he's going through the corners, he's a bit twitchy. So that, for me, makes it look like he actually is in control. So that's where I think he is on track. If so, he's gained 6 places, which is a very impressive showing from him at the moment. So he's doing a really good job. I'm not sure if you're able to see what Tactician is like on your screen, but there might be a few indications of whether or not that's the true pace and the true car himself. Davidos, Cherry Tupai, Dan Daniel. This is the exciting battle. Sector 3, yellow flags. That's Blizzard. Blizzard's gone off, and I think that might be him calling it a day. No, he's decided to keep going on, but Blizzard is really struggling in his intermediate conditions at the moment, as Casper is onto the rear end of Jundu at the moment. Not a single DNF in this Grand Prix at the moment, but the battle between Davidos, Cherry Tupai and Dan Daniel for that final point is getting very interesting indeed.
Definitely so. We just picked them up here on the screen. I think you've got the right standings, by the way, Ollie. So I jumped on board with Tactician there, and as he just crossed the line, it said Sector 1 lap time was a 1:50 in Sector 1. It says he's got no battery and nothing at all. So I think you've got the right standings more than me, because I've got him last about nearly a whole lap down at this point in time. So I think you've got it right, my friend. So I think you're good. Got a yellow flag back in Sector 3 again. Blizzard is into pit lane, and this could be the end of the race possibly, or he's deciding to go for wet tires now. He's retired from the race, so just as you said, no DNFs there, and we finally get one, and that means I win this week no matter what now.
Yeah, 5-3.
Hey, I'll take that. Lovely.
Come back, Tom.
I'm trying. But RC Spider is the leader of this race from the H Eagle, and Sean in third. I've got Lee Finlay fourth, Big Parenta fifth, and then you're saying that Tactician is sixth at the moment, is that correct?
Yeah.
Cool,
yes.
So he's in sixth place, Ruben in seventh. I've got yellow flag in Sector 1, and it's just disappeared there. Casper is trying to catch up to Jindu at the back there, and as you say, Davidos, Cherry Tupai and VP Damn Daniel pretty close together. Cherry Tupai is all over the back of that Ferrari at the moment. Ferrari power versus Honda power, and Cherry Tupai, we're hoping the power of dreams can propel him up another place and into more points ahead of the Ferrari. These three though are probably the closest on track, I would say, although Nico's not far off at Ash up ahead. In fact, they two are just about side by side coming through the last couple of corners, and Nico has lost that place there, I believe, to Ash. I think Nico was ahead, so the Williams driver, the Spaniard new to the series, dropping down into what is 8th place as Ash jumps back up another place in the McLaren. He's going to chase down Ruben now for what will be 7th. It will jump back to Dawidos, Cherry Tupai and Daniel as they come through turns 1 and 2, and these are pretty much the closest battles in track. Everyone else spread out by at least a second or more, although Casper's not too far off the back of Jindu, down in 13th and 14th. So we're on lap 13, we're approaching half distance on the next lap, and we've still got half the race to go, and there's still plenty of action to go on. But RC Spider is looking pretty up front in his home race in the Force India, and he's been pretty much dominant ever since the first lap in qualifying.
Yeah, he's really been the one to chase and the one to catch at the moment. Ash and Nico were going side by side for the majority of that first sector. The yellow flag we saw earlier, I believe, was Blizzard exiting his pit box, so that will be why that yellow flag come out for his retirement. No safety car released because of that. You sometimes see safety cars given purely based on the weather conditions, but it's getting close between Nico and Ash, getting close between Cherry, Dan, Daniel and Davidos. Let's hope for their sake that they don't get involved in an incident, because they'll be finding themselves in the steward's room if they do. All this though is starting to bring slightly the car ahead in Ruben into play, and he's got a couple of guys ahead of him in Big Prenta, and for me of course Tactician, so that could really make things a little bit spicy. Sadly for Lee Finlay, 5.1 seconds off the podium places, unless there's some from a crash or incident. It looks like he'll be settling for P4. It's a lonely P4 for him. Sean has got that down another second to 3.1 seconds to the guy ahead of him as Nico and Ash go side by side. Up the inside is the Williams. This is going to turn to the outside, but the McLaren, is coming right back at him, and he's showing some great straight line speed there, getting into the slipstream. He's going to take the outside line. It's going to be tough to go around the outside here, because if he pushes him off, but this will turn to the inside. He's going to hug it round there, keep it side by side, but the Williams has a little bit too much momentum, but this could continue to go on throughout the lap sector. Inside line defended. The Williams there defended quite vigorously. A little bit of a late manoeuvre. The McLaren didn't expect that. He's got past, but I think the Williams may be coming back at him. But Ash has got the place at the moment, but a little switch back there from Williams of Nico. He's now going to the inside line. They're going to go side by side, pushing him slightly off the track there. He's going to remain side by side going down this back straight. This is going to get interesting. Ash has got the better of it going into the first part, but I think with slipstream available to him, of course, no DRS in these wet conditions, they're offline. They'll be picking up one hell of a bit of water there. They're going to go now side by side into the chicane. Can he get the manoeuvre done around the outside? The Williams, he's swooped round, he's got it done, but I think Ash might get a bit more momentum. The Williams of Nico there has got a little bit wavy, a little bit of contact between the rear wheel of the Williams and the front of the McLaren there, as they're going to continue to go side by side. I think Ash might finally have the manoeuvre done here, as they're going to go for a quick switch into this long 90-degree high-speed right-hander. Up the inside, potentially Nico. It's going to come to him if he can take enough momentum here. He's going to have to defend Ash here. This is round the outside. These two have been side-by-side for so long. This has been going on for ages, this little battle. The McLaren's going to have the inside line. I think the Williams going to hug it, though, round. This is fantastic racing between the two of them. They still are side-by-side. I mentioned about how this race opens up some great overtaking opportunities, and this is showing it here. They're going to go side by side, pretty much side by side for an entire lap here, as they're going to the final corner. The Ash will have to succeed to place to Nico, but I think he might be coming back in this lap.
Some phenomenal racing. It was almost like it was 1990s again. Williams and McLaren fighting it out as they used to do up front. Ash has decided wanting to go through the move up the inside into turn one. They're going to go side by side again, but Nico pulls through and pulls ahead. Daniel's been into the pits and put on another set of intermediates. Cherry 2Pie's gone for wet tyres, so someone onto the wet tyres now. We'll keep an eye on the Toro Rosso. Oh, contact there between the Williams and McLaren. A bit of carbon fibre flies off. I think that was from the Williams, and hopefully not too much damage there, but these two have been side by side, as you say, for nearly a lap and a half now. Dawados is catching up to them as well. He's looking like he wants to just pick up the pieces if these two don't manage to keep it away from each other. And we've now got McLaren, Williams and Ferrari coming down the straight towards the chicane, but that Williams might just have a bit of wing damage, and Ash gets the move done into the chicane. Can he get the exit? He start trying to pull away from Nico, but very good driving from both of them, very respectful from the pair of them. Absolutely brilliant to see, and that's what we like to see with any AOR. A little touch, but that can happen with desync sometimes, just the way it goes, but they were very respectful to each other and fantastic. But Ash has got the place done for now. Fantastic stuff from the two of them. Lap 15 of 27 here at the circuit. Paul Ricard. It's RC Spider leading from the H Eagle. Sean is in third with Lee Finley in fourth. Big Parenta's in fifth. Tactician still in sixth, Ollie?
Yes, just put on board with Cherry 2Pie there. He's on the wets quickly and he's just hit a wall. So I do not think it's the wet tyres. I think he's made a bit of a mistake there. Oh, he's lost it completely.
Yep.
Oh, Jesus Christ, that was close. Fair play to him. He held on to that. But going full speed round that corner on the wet tyres when they're not ready was risky. Oh, that was a heart-in-mouth moment. But a few other guys have come into the pits. Jundu is into the pits for a fresh set of inters. Sean is also in. He's onto intermediate tyres. So Cherry 2Pie, I think, has made a bit of an error there. He should have just pit for the intermediates. Maybe he's gone for the wets, thinking we can go to the end on them. That's a bit of a risk, and I'm quite surprised. Shout out to Casper, though, who's up into P10. He's done a great job, considering he was relishing at the back there. He's done a real good job to get up into P10 and into some points at the moment. Probably going to have to pit, though, for a fresh set of tyres, because these tyres are probably worn down to the very bare bones.
Yeah, it must. The reason these guys must be coming in, they must be just weared out massively. Setups, maybe some of them, especially if they've gone for a dry weather setup, the camber on the tyre just might be too much for these treaded tyres to take. But Cherry 2Pie with a heart and mouth moment. I'm sure he probably needs a change of underwear after that one, because that was a big moment through one of the quicker parts off the track. But 6 seconds clear up front is RC Spider. H Eagle in second. Lee Finley now in third, with Sean having came into the pits. Sean I've got now down in 10th or 11th place. It'll be with Tactician, so it'll be 11th place that Sean's in at the moment, rather than the 10th you see on screen. Lee Finley looking a bit lonely out there. He's 9 seconds behind the H Eagle, but he won't be lonely for too long if he's not careful. Big Parenta on board with him now, just 1 and a bit seconds, 2 seconds back from the lead. Lee Finley's into the pits. Big Parenta's came into the pits. Spider, Eagle is in the pits, so they're all coming in for a fresh set of tyres. I'm guessing it's going to be intermediates, surely. Yep, intermediates for Big Parenta. Lee Finley's not hit his pit box yet. He is intermediates as well. So fresh intermediates all round, although Ruben's gone for wet, so he's deciding he wants to take a gamble. But Cherry 2Pie has proven at the moment it doesn't seem to be too wet for the full wet tyres, and intermediates are still the way to go. And I'm just trying to figure out, I think RC Spider's still in the lead despite having came into the pits. Ash is now up into second place. Oh, so Tactician is actually leaving. Oh,
yes.
My standards are right for once, so probably fix himself in a minute. So it's Tactician leading, RC Spider second, Ash is up into third place as my screen jumps and puts RC Spider back in the lead, but it is Tactician leading at the moment. But I've got him on 12 lap old intermediates. I'm hoping that's the same for real life.
Yes, I believe so, yes.
As Dawados and Nico side by side down towards the chicane, but Dawados managing to hold the position for now. So that is P4 and P5. We're having to work for our money tonight, even though we don't get paid for it, mate.
Yeah, it's one of them Grand Prix. It's just really created some great drama. Nico is all over the rear end of Davidos, so I'm not sure if he's made a mistake or something, but Davidos is really struggling. Up ahead, Ash is gone very, very wide, and Nico as well has gone quite wide as well. He's all over the place, and I think these intermediates are coming to the end of their life. Casper and Nico are going side by side. I think Nico, even with that front wing damage, may be struggling quite a lot at the moment. Obviously, a lot of these guys yet to pit. Ash, Davidos, Nico, all of them yet to come into the pits. They're trying to make them go as long as possible, maybe to go onto the wet tyres. But Casper could jump Nico before he comes into the pits, but Nico going for a quick switchback. Up ahead into the pits comes Ash. Tactician also into the pits. You can't see this. RC Spider regains his lead. Davidos has stayed out. Casper has also stayed out. The H-Eagle has now got a couple of cars in between him and the race leader. So that's going to be a bit of a troublesome time for him, especially with traffic. Tactician starting to drop down. Lee Findlay is coming through. Sean is under a second behind the H-Eagle. So we've got ourselves a battle for P2 as Cherry 2-Pie picks up a 5-second stop go. But there is some great traffic that's causing a bit of a bunch up. Davidos and Casper bunching up the H-Eagle to Sean. Not what he'll be wanting to see. So, nonetheless, I think we could be having a little battle here for P2 and Sean, the master of racecraft in the moment. He's been criticised a little bit for his actions in races, but he has got some serious pace when the checkered flag comes out and it's lights out. He is really flying, but Cherry 2-Pie is probably regretting pitting for them blue striped wet tyres now.
Indeed, I've got 4 people on the wet tyres: Cherry 2-Pie, Nico, Ruben and Tactician. On my screen with the desync, so hopefully, yep, that is correct. So at least some things are still correct with the issue. I wish I knew what caused it, because I could fix it, but these things happen. But there you go. But it is RC Spider leading, Davidos in second, who's just managed to get a little bit clear, but he's... oh no, in fact, there's Casper actually up the inside of Davidos there. Davidos has managed to get nearly a second clear before the chicane from Casper, and he just lost a whole lot of time through that second sector. So these 4 are right together, but Davidos and Casper are on 12-lap old intermediates. The H-Eagle and Sean have pitted, as has RC Spider. So these guys are on the oldest tyres out on the whole track at the moment, and there's a train of 4 going through the last corner, and the Ferrari and the Toro Rosso stay out. So it's a Toro Rosso and Sauber filling in a Ferrari sandwich. We've got Davidos and Sean either side. This is second, third, fourth and fifth down into turn 1 here at Paul Ricard. Oh, and Casper's had to go straight on there. I don't know if H-Eagle looked to go down the inside. Casper straight on at turn 1. The H-Eagle's through, and Sean picks up the place as well. So that's now third for the Sauber, fourth for Sean, and Casper drops down to 5th place. Those intermediates probably going off a little bit now, and Davidos might be struggling on those inters before long, because he's the same amount of time on name as the Toro Rosso. Well, everyone else has been into the pits for a second time here. Started in dry conditions, and the rain came within about 4 laps, and we've seen pit stops very quickly, and the rain is continuing to fall. It's going to stay like this, I would say, until the end of the race. And we're watching the battle here for second, third and fourth in F2 as the H-Eagle looks to the inside as Davidos runs a little bit wide, but he's unable to do so at the moment. But that Ferrari looks like it might just be struggling on those worn intermediate tyres. As soon as the tread starts to go, you're getting down to a slick, and obviously in these conditions that is not the kind of tyre you want to have on your car. We're on board with Davidos right now, and those tyres, I mean, even in the game with the weather, it can just make out some of the tread on the Sauber. I can't make out very much tread on that Ferrari, so he's really probably struggling at the moment. And Sean's all over the back of the H-Eagle. This has been a good pit stop phase for Sean. He was around about 3 seconds behind the Sauber before the last lot of pit stops, so he's gained a bit of time there, even if he's not gained the position, so you'll be happy with that. And here we go, 1, 2, 3 into the last corner, and Davidos is carrying on for another lap. Casper is coming into the pit, so he's had enough of those intermediates. He's going to pit and put on a fresh set, I would imagine, of intermediates, because the wet tyres don't seem to be doing anything at the moment. Ruben's the highest wet tyre runner, and he is nearly 5 seconds off of Jundu, which is for, I believe, 11th place. This is the H-Eagle all over the back of the Ferrari, but unable to do so. Sean's right up behind the Sauber, nearly contact between the two of them. Looks like they managed to avoid it. These 3 are going to be battling, but especially the Sauber and Sean in the second Ferrari. This could go on all the way to the end of the race, but RC Spider is still the leader up front, and he's got quite a good gap of around about 11 seconds.
Yeah, I was running the wall with Sean. He did slightly run into the rear end of him there, but the H-Eagle looks like he's got a bit of a run on Davidos here. I was going to mention to you, do you think maybe Davidos is holding him up to help his teammate? We know they talk frequently. Davidos had a little bit of a clip there, which is now Sean to get past him. When they go side by side, I think he might get past a little bit easier, but for the finally, Davidos has lost his places there. He's finally dropped the back a little bit, and the H-Eagle has been released, and Sean now has to go on do it himself without his assistance of his teammate. Now it'll be interesting to see whether or not he's going to stay out on track, the pole of Davidos. I think because he's so committed at this point, if I was him, 7 laps to go, I'd just save them tyres and try and battle. You've got 4.6 seconds to lead Findlay. That might come down with 2, maybe 3 laps if you keep a consistent pace, and then you've got a few guys back there as well. So if I was him, I'd just play it safe and go till the very, very end. But he's doing a good job at the moment. If this would be one hell of a recovery, and this would be a good showing on his tyres. Here comes crunch time. If he comes into the pits now, it was all to help his teammate, you'd say. If he doesn't, then yeah, he's into the pits there. So Davidos can't make it to the end. A bit surprising. I thought he might risk it, but he's going to come in and maybe try and pick up some safe points. But interesting to see where he comes out with the guys he was battling previously. But yeah, Nico has dropped a lot of places, of course, because of them wet weather tyres he puts on. He had a great battle with Ash, who's up in P9 at the moment. Tactician update, he's on the wet tyres, but he's in 6th. So he's absolutely flying on them tyres. So he's the only one of them guys on the wets. And Davidos has pitted for wets as well. So maybe, just maybe, the wet tyres are now starting to come back. I'm looking at Tactician's time coming through the sectors. Is he gaining anything? Not really, no. So maybe Davidos has made a bit of a poor mistake there. But I think, Andy, we might see the wet weather tyres come into their own. He is actually now gaining time. So Tactician has actually gained a little bit of time. So I think the wet tyres are now the quicker set of tyres. So this is going to be a bit of a ricochet effect there with Davidos' scores, which actually would mean Davidos could be on for a podium here if they all pit for wets.
Very much so. He's down, and I've got him, I think it's 10th place at the moment, 9th on my screen, but I think it's 10th. He's got Casper behind him, he's on the wets as well. So Cherry Tupai's been back in the pits again. He's put another set of intermediates on, so it's been a race to forget for the other Toro Rosso for sure. I wonder if he's going to complain about his pit crew, maybe, I don't know. But hey, but RC Spider is looking good, 12 seconds clear. We're watching the battle for what is 10th and 11th on track between Davidos, who's just pitted, and Casper, who pitted the lap before. These two were pretty much together before the pit stops, and Casper takes the inside line as the Ferrari runs a little bit wide. They're side by side through this continuous right-hander, and Casper gets in the power, but now Davidos has got the inside, can brake a bit later, and Casper's going to try and cut back. He's going to have to go the long way round. He goes off the track. He's going to need to concede the position there, and he's lucky to not get away with a penalty for that, so he maybe got a warning from it. But these two battling it through. I'm trying to keep an eye. Sean is right behind the H-Eagle. In fact, these two are basically playing NASCAR oval racing tactics, nearly nose to tail through the first section, and Sean trying to get the cutback onto the Mistral straight. Can he get the run on the Sauber as Ruben is dropped out? So Ruben out of the race. See if we can pick up what happened there, maybe. Unsure of what's happened to the Mercedes. I'll let you have a look at that one for me, Ollie, because I'm jumping back to Sean and the H-Eagle, and Sean has got the move done on the H-Eagle down the straight, got the slipstream, pulled out to the outside and then pulled back in to take the racing line, and Sean the Dutchman up into second place, and your championship leader is now second on the road, but he is 13 seconds behind RC Spider, who's in first. But can Sean now pull away to make that second place secure for the rest of the race? Spider leads, Sean in second, the H-Eagle in third, Lee Finlay fourth, Big Parenta fifth, and I believe it's Tactician in sixth.
Yes, I'm on board quickly now with Casper and Davidos, who are battling further down the field. Davidos lost the rear end slightly down the back straight, and has taken out quite a few of the brake marker board, so that might be interesting to see how the guys react to that one there. But yeah, it looks like Davidos on the wet weather tyres, as well as Casper. They're gaining quite a lot at the moment. Tactician's flying as well. I looked at Cherry Tupai on the intermediates, and he is really struggling. So I think it's wet weather tyres now at the moment. So interesting to see if anybody comes in. If I was one of the guys at the front, maybe the H-Eagle, if you go onto them wet tyres, it could be a heroic moment, because if you're on them wet tyres when the intermediates fall off completely and you can't use them at all, yellow flag in sector 2. Cherry Tupai has called it a day. So I mentioned about the intermediate struggling. He's crashed out on them, So yeah, I think the wet weather tyres now coming to their own for the last 5 complete laps now, about 4.5 laps to go. It's going to be a real case of who can manage them tyres, because the wets are absolutely flying at the moment. The wet runners have come into their own. A little bit of a shame for Cherry 2 Pie, who was one of the first guys to pit for the wets. The H-Eagle and Sean are still within a second at the moment. Sean's gone very, very wide. We've got to mention, I'll quickly look at this, I'm not sure, we won't bring Andy off the stream, but penalty-wise, I think there could be some penalties that come into play, because Sean has 2 penalties, whereas the H-Eagle hasn't got a single penalty. Lee Findlay also hasn't got a penalty. So Sean may still be off the podium, because at the moment he's not 6 seconds clear of Lee Findlay. That would drop him down to P4, so it'd be a little bit of a disaster for him after getting into such a good position, but he is starting to fly a little bit and pull away from Lee Findlay.
Absolutely indeed, not got long to go. We're into the last 5 laps now of the French Grand Prix. I'm just looking through some of the chats. Ruben, who's now out of the race, none too happy at all with his race, not too chuffed with what's going on. Saying about Tactician was a bit of a ghost, caused front wing damage as well, so obviously the guys in the game are maybe having a wee bit of the issues with the desync as well, possibly, which is really, really frustrating. Obviously you want everything to be as clean as possible, and it's the first time we've seen that this season, so I need to put it down as being hopefully just a one-off. But obviously with online gaming these kind of things can happen, and it's not the ideal thing, as Nico is now retired from the session as well, so he has dropped out, and that is now 4 DNFs. We've got Nico on his debut, looking pretty decently earlier on as well. He's now out of the race in the Williams. Cherry 2 Pie out, Ruben's out, and Blizzard was the first one out after a few spins early doors. But up front it's RC Spider who is in the lead. Sean is in second. He's now got nearly a second clear of the H-Eagle, and as you say, penalties are going to come into it if it stays as they are, because I think you say Sean had 6 seconds worth and the H-Eagle's got none at the moment, so if he can stay close enough in the Salbot, that's going to flip back around at the end of the race. Lee Findlay is in 4th, Big Parenta 5th, I believe Tactician still in 6th place, but going really quickly on those wet tyres. Damn Daniel will be in 7th, Ash in 8th, Jundu 9th, Davidos and Casper that are watching fighting over 10th in the last point. These two running at the back of the field having pitted, and if you look through the pit stops themselves, everybody's made 2 pit stops, although Ruben and Cherry 2 Pie had made 3 before the retirements. And in terms of position changes, if we ignore the one on stream that we can see a Tactician in 11 places up front, I think it is Daniel who has made the most places up. I think he's made 6 places from his starting position, whereas the biggest loser on track is only the H-Eagle and Lee Findlay, who have only lost 1 place, as Daniel picks up a 3-second time penalty add to his time at the end of the race.
Yeah, at the moment, the way things are going, Sean is not doing enough to pull away. In fact, the H-Eagle was coming a little bit back at him at the moment, so Sean is starting to drop pace, and Lee Findlay's being dragged into this battle as well. Casper and Davidos have been battling for so long, they'll be sick and tired of the sight of each other at this rate, but that's what this track does, it bunches the guys up. I mean, we will talk about driver of the day, but I really don't think there's going to be much of a debate about who it's going to be, but we'll talk about it later. Remember, down in the comments below, please tell us who your driver of the day is. I'd be surprised if you say anyone other than the guy who rhymes with BC Rider. I would be very shocked if anyone other than that would be voted for in this Grand Prix. It's been pretty flawless from the man up front in the Force India. But yeah, Sean and H-Eagle are battling. H-Eagle won't be aware of the fact that Sean has 6-second penalties at the moment. I think H-Eagle's done very, very well to not pick up a single penalty at the moment, especially in these wet conditions around this track. He's doing a solid job. Tactician on my screen is now within a second to Big Parenta. So we could be at that period now where the intermediates have completely dropped off, and he's gaining dramatically on Big Parenta, and I think he's about to overtake. Shame, really, you can't see this. He's going to dive up the inside, I'd imagine, shortly, but he's not passed just yet. But yeah, things are starting to heat up. They're about to enter lap 26 of 27 as RC Spider will be entering his penultimate lap of his home Grand Prix. The home fans will be pretty pleased, I dare say, with the performance of the F2 racer here. I think that may promote him up into second in the championship as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. Andy will obviously give us that while we're in the drivers' press conference. We'll try and get a hold of all the drivers. At the moment, it looks like it's going to be RC Spider from the H-Eagle and Lee Findlay, but you never know what can happen in Grand Prix racing. Anything can happen, as you know, these guys are going to be pushing it to the very, very limit on the last few laps. 26 of 27 It's getting a little bit tasty behind. His Tactician is all over the rear end of Big Parenta for me, and Davidos and Casper have spread out a little bit there, so no real battles other than Ash Best and Damn Daniel getting close on the track.
Definitely, so I do think I got to agree. I think the intermediates for some of them are definitely starting to go off. I was watching Sean in the H-Eagle, and Sean pulled to the left hand side down the Mistral straight into off the racing line and onto the wet standing water, so he's trying to cool those tyres down. Possibly they're having a bit of an overheating issue going through them, and it does seem to be that now the wet tyres are coming into their own, but it's just a bit too late for to make a massive impression really in the race. It's RC Spider in first, Sean is second on the track at the moment. It's Ash has just gone wide there through turn 3 and 4, and that's going to drop him off the back of the Haas of Damn Daniel, so that's not good for him. Jundu's going to try and catch up to him now. As you said, Davidos and Casper have now split up 2 seconds between them, so it's starting to drop away now at the end. The intermediate runners are trying to just get these through the last 2 laps of the race. On the screen at the moment you can see Sean catching the car off what is Tacticians. It says he's in second, but due to some issues he's not actually there. He's down in 6th at the moment fighting his teammate. He's now in 5th, so he's passed his teammate. Really annoying. We couldn't see that on the stream. The H-Eagles just collided into the back of Tactician's car, but obviously the desync issue is causing the problem with that. So Tactician is actually 5th place. I've actually finally got him right at the moment, but it'll probably change in a minute. But RC Spider is now on his final lap. He's got 14.5 seconds clear. He's got the fastest lap of the race from when it was dry early doors. It has been a pretty good race for him on the final lap. The H-Eagle just needs to stay where he is with Sean, and Lee Finley's within range as well when it comes to those penalties for Sean being 6 seconds, so we'll keep an eye on that. But we're now on the final lap, lap 27 of 27 here at Paul Ricard, the French Grand Prix, and RC Spider is on his way to, if it hadn't been for the pit stops, what would pretty much have been a lights to flag victory. Nearly lost out at the start, side by side with the H-Eagle and Lee Finley into turn 1, managed to hold the lead, and he's only lost the lead through the pit stop phase. He's coming down the Mistral straight for what will be the last time for him. You can see his fuel gauge is blinking red, so he's been really pushing it. I'm sure he's got it leaned out now though. Hopefully he's not going to run out of fuel. That would be the worst thing for it to happen. But it's been a really, really good race, and it's got to be, he has to be the driver of the race here. He put it on pole position. First lap put him in pole position, and he was never bettered from there. And apart from that bit at the start, he's been able to pull away here and take what is pretty much a dominant victory. The only time we've seen anyone close to this was Sean once he got in the lead at the Spanish Grand Prix. Once he took the lead after the second safety car, he just streaked away from everyone else. But this has been pretty much lights to flag, coming through the final 2 corners with the Frenchman. It's going to be a home victory, and he becomes only the 2nd driver this season to win more than 1 race after winning in Monaco. RC Spider wins the French Grand Prix. Fantastic drive from the Force India driver. He takes the victory, and that is going to be very good for his championship standings. Here comes Sean to take 2nd on the road, but let's keep an eye on the standings because he does have penalties. And H-Eagle over the line, so H-Eagle has jumped him. Is Lee Finley close enough to jump? Yes it is. So Lee Finley on the podium again in 3rd place. Sean drops to 4th with those penalties. Big Parenta coming across, but I believe Tactician's already gone over in 5th, and it finally shows on a screen that he's finished in 5th place. Waits to the end of the race to pick up, so Tactician 5th, great race from him, which we never got to see really frustratingly. Big Parenta in 6th, Ash takes 7th, Jundu was in 8th position there. Daniel's dropped back after a number of penalties, but a brilliant victory from RC Spider. He is the winner of the F2 French Grand Prix.
Yep, it's the perfect threesome for him, if you'd like to say. It's the fastest lap, the pole position, and the race victory for the man who looks to be the tightest challenger to Sean going ahead from these rounds after Canada. Looked like he's started to pick up some pace a little bit, and Spider is really showing some good form at this stage. And after Monaco as well, he looks to be one of the most informed drivers at this stage of the F2 calendar. We've got the drivers making their way in shortly for the interviews. But a huge congratulations to Force India and RC Spider for a home Grand Prix victory. that he will most certainly never forget. Wet conditions mastered by the Frenchman. The entirety of the top three didn't pick up a single time penalty. That is pretty impressive. It was RC Spider from the H-Eagle in second, then Lee Findlay picked up in third place. His back-to-back podiums for him after a good showing in Canada. Sean, the championship leader, he's in fourth after picking up 6 seconds worth of time penalties. Tactician, a good drive from him in P5, gaining 7 places. Big Parenta's in 6th. Ash Best is in 7th. You've got Jundu in 8th. Casper making his way up into 9th. Davidos rounding out the point scorers in 10th. You've got Dan Daniel in 11th, and then the following drivers did not finish. You've got FCR Nico, Cherry Tupai, Army Ruben and VSR Blizzard, all of which did not finish this Grand Prix throughout that race. It was a classic race. We both agree, I think, Andy, that driver of the day will more likely go to RC Spider, but I dare say there'll be a few differing opinions. The man, I would say, who maybe challenge him would be Tactician. Obviously, you didn't see what he'd done, but he was in some really good battles earlier on, and probably worth a shout for driver of the day. But huge congratulations as we start to get some of these drivers in. Andy, I've got to quickly ask you there, Tactician, it's a shame you didn't get to see it with all the desync, but sum up RC Spider's performance there in maybe a couple of words.
2 words, nice and simple: Grand Slam. As you say, pole position, fastest lap and the win, and for a home race you can't ask for anything better than that. I'll let you get the drivers into the chat, and I'll get working on the standings in a minute. Just let me know when you're ready to start asking some questions to them when they're in. But yeah, you never put a foot wrong from first lap out in qualifying to the end of the race, only beaten into the lead when it was the pit stops. Just a perfect race from him, and having won in Monaco earlier on as well, the 2 rounds that are technically within France, if you want to call Monaco part of France, although some people, if they heard me saying that, would want to hang me. It's got to be the perfect scenario for a French driver to win both those races, and as you say, he does look to be, if he can keep this form going, the one that might just take the challenge to Sean finishing in second on the road but dropping to 4th due to those penalties. He's still going to have the championship lead by quite a margin. I'll work it out in a moment and seeing what goes on, but he needs to watch for those penalties, because that's cost him a couple of times now, either during the race, after the race is finished, or even afterwards with the stewards as well. So those sort of time penalties can add up and come back to haunt you if you are not careful. But Spider, H-Eagle and Lee Finlay that will be in the chat in just a moment.
Yeah, we're waiting for the drivers to come in for the interviews here at the moment. We've got Lee Finlay. I'm going to try my best to get the remainder. I might even try and get Sean as well, because he did finish on the podium but obviously dropped down a little bit, so we'll try and hear from him maybe as well if we can't hear from some of the guys. It'd be a shame if we don't, but we'll crack through first off with Lee Findlay, and hopefully the guys will join in the latter stages. So Lee, congratulations, back-to-back podiums. It was a bit of a boring race for you, with no disrespect there, but it was one of them races where you didn't really see much of you involved in action, but you kept it consistent and got the podium in the end.
Yeah, well, I was a bit worried about France, because like in the dry, I had my pace was quite slow, and I did show again earlier in the race. The guys behind me were just were catching me, just like Canada. But then when the rain came, I was. I didn't make any mistakes really. I was comfortable with the conditions, and I got told that when Sean was in 3rd, he had 6 seconds worth of penalties, and I was pushing like an absolute madman to try and stay within the 6 seconds, and I managed to do that. So I know I didn't actually finish on the road, but was happy to get in the podium overall in the end, and yeah, really happy to get 2 podiums in a row now. Hopefully I can keep that up for Austria next week.
Well, yeah, it was a very good race from you. I want to quickly mention the fact that it looked for me and Andy like it's a tough race to compete around. How tough is France? Obviously, being a new track for this game and this year, of course, and a new race you really have to learn. How tough is it around there?
Well, Well, for me, when I first went on the game, one of the first things that I did was learning France, and I got lost pretty easily there. So it's quite hard to learn for the first 10 or so laps. But the more laps you do, the faster you get. And it's gotten to the point now where I've become comfortable with it. So, but I do think it's one of the more trickier tracks to learn, because you got all those runoff areas and whatnot. But yeah, I think I did personally find it quite tricky to begin with, but I've gone used to it now.
Well, congratulations on a pretty flawless performance there. It was a tough race, but yeah, you've done fantastically. And final question quickly before we hand over to Sean. Back-to-back podiums. Do you think you're maybe an outside favourite to pick up some more podiums and maybe be a bit of a dark horse in this little championship hunt we're starting to see?
We'll just have to wait and see. I mean, next track is Austria, so which is a track that I like. So hopefully it can make it 3 out of 3. But we'll just have to wait and see. But I also got some bogey circuits coming up, so we'll just see. Hopefully I can make it 3 out of 3, and then just take it race by race. But it was good to get on the podium in France, as I wasn't really expecting to get on the podium, so was happy with that.
Well, congratulations, Lee, on a back-to-back podiums. A great showing. We were unable to get hold of RC Spider and the H Eagle. They're seemingly they're not joining us, sadly. But we'll go to Sean, who we've invited in here. Obviously finished in second position, but with penalties has been dropped down. I dare say he'll be appearing in them in the stewards panel. We might find that out from him shortly. But yeah, Sean, a real good race. I mentioned to Andy in commentary about how in qualifying, no disrespect, you sometimes are off the pace a little bit, but in the race you just come alive.
Yeah, the race was a very good one, but I'm still disappointed that with penalties I still came fourth after I went a little bit wide there in a long right-hander, and I slowed down so much, and then I still got my final one and then a penalty, so I was very angry about it, but I forgot my 42 record, so can't appeal a steward's complaint, but I don't really mind that much. But yeah, the race, it was actually very good. A good move on Eagle, which was also very nice, and the move on Lee was, for me, sort of unexpected. Going a little bit from a long race, so it was actually a very nice race. But fourth place, just with 3/10, the difference between penalties is actually very, very salty. So yeah, it's 50-50, but I can still be happy, I guess.
Well, every week we seem to see you smashing the records and doing really good at the moment. Obviously, 3 wins, RC Spider picking up 2 now. It looks like he's going to be your tightest challenger. I believe you may have extended your lead in the championship slightly, purely because Tactician started today in second, and I think RC Spider will find out from Andy at the end, but it was 43 points, and I think it might have extended slightly. But every week it looks more and more likely you're going to be the man who could maybe take this F2 crown. We could see you in F1 next season. Every week, are you feeling more and more confident?
Yeah, I felt pretty confident, but France is for me the track that I really, really dislike. Just the corners itself, the sensitivity of having a corner cut penalty is just absolutely ridiculous here, and yeah, you don't get a great flow around here. So I'm really glad that this track is done in the bin, and I can hopefully put on focus on Austria. That's one of my favorite tracks, and always having a win streak there in a lot of leagues, so hopefully I can keep that momentum going.
Well, congratulations on a very good race. Commiserations on the fat penalties, but you know, whether or not that would change, we'll find out. But Andy, that is it. Sadly, no RC Spider, no H Eagle. Congratulations to Spider if he is watching on a pretty successful Grand Prix. Driver of the day from the two of us. Andy, are you able to give us an update on the standings?
I am indeed. Now, you thought there that with the standings today that Sean might have increased his 43-point lead. He has not. Sean is now on 123 points. Spider is now second on 86 points, so it's a 37 point gap. Spider jumping up 3 places in the standings. The H Eagle is on 86 points as well, but he's in third place due to the fact that Spider's got 2 wins to his 1. Tactician on 78 points, Casper on 67, Dawidos on 62. The other gainer in the championship standings is Lee Finlay, up 2 places ahead of his teammate Ash and VP McGrady, who we didn't see here tonight either. So Lee's now on 58 points, Ash on 53 and McGrady on 51. And in the constructor standings, Ferrari still way out in front, 185 points, Sauber on 128, Red Bull on 116 and McLaren 111. Force India, due to Spider's victory, have jumped 2 places, jumping ahead of Toro Rosso and Haas. They're now on 92 points, so we're getting a nice wee scrap going on for 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and even now 5th with Force India if Spider can keep going. So standings moving about, but Sean's still got a healthy lead at this point in time, but it has been cut by 6 points after the win tonight for RC Spider here at the French Grand Prix at Paul Ricard. But as Ollie said, that is it for this evening. We hope you enjoyed the stream. If you did do so, don't forget to hit the like button, comment on Twitter anything you thought as well using the hashtag AOR Hype. But for myself, for Ollie, for everyone at AOR, for all the drivers, thank you very much for watching once again. We are back next week from the Red Bull Ring in Austria for the Austrian Grand Prix. But until then, my name is Andy, and until next time, see you again soon. Ta-ra.